Honey, it's your mom. I was calling to let you know I made a lasagna. Wanted to know if you wanted half. Even if you're not gonna eat it right away, you can always freeze it. Also, I talked to your Aunt Cheryl. She's very excited about having all of us over for Easter, and she was telling me everything that she's making. Jesus help us all. God love Cheryl. We all know she can't work for shit, but we're gonna choose kindness for the day because we all know she's had a hard time since your Uncle Jimmy went to jail. Who knew that selling counterfeit televisions out of the back of a white van down by the docks would get you so much jail time? But, anyways, call me back about the lasagna and we'll talk about carpooling on Easter. Kay, love you. Bye. It was Mom. And welcome back, spooky friends, to Crips and Quirks. I'm your host, DJ, here with my co host and executive producer.
Paul, as usual. And today we're joined by a very special guest. She is an artist, she is a photographer. She has worked on major motion pictures and television shows such as Fear the Walking Dead and Halloween Ends. She's our friend and yours, Tristan Grimm.
Oh, that was the most exciting introduction I've ever got.
We got to keep it fun on the pod, you know? We got to keep it cool. So, how's it going down there in Georgia? How are you?
I'm good. Georgia's good. We're coming out of the winter weather, or their version of the winter weather. And it's wet, it's rainy, it's horrible actually. There's mosquitoes everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
God, that's
yeah.
awful.
And before we started, you were telling us you're in Savannah. And so I've only ever been in like July when it is.
Disgusting.
Yes. Is it disgusting and humid down there all the time, or is that just a summer thing?
We get like 3 months off.
Oh no.
That doesn't mean it's not hot. It's just not as sticky. Like we are literally like maybe 2 weeks away from just being humid and disgusting again. So yeah, and that usually lasts until like November.
Oh,
No.
gee.
Yes.
Georgia would literally be my dream home if not for the humidity.
I miss snow
Savannah, not
so much.
Georgia.
I miss snow so much. I miss the fall. But other than that, I'm like, I love it down here.
Okay.
It's yeah. I mean, certain places don't go to certain parts of Georgia. Don't.
Oh, I imagine there's some spooky conservatives.
I don't fuck with largemouth Marge.
Guys, before I got into like the film industry, I worked at Cracker Barrel and it was just
Oh,
something else.
no.
Hair to the extreme, I can imagine.
Yeah, I'm tattooed. All my tattoos are very spooky. I have dyed hair, and all these men down here thought I needed to marry a man and straighten myself
Oh,
out.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
you go to a Cracker Barrel in Georgia, it's KKKK, Ku Klux Klan Karen.
Oh,
Very that. Very that. Now, for those people at home who don't know, Tristan and I are actually cousins. See, the spook runs deep in our family. And if you've seen some of my family members, you'd know what I'm talking about. We come from a very spooky family.
I'm just gonna be honest. That intro sounded a lot like a couple of my uncles. I'm not like
Right, right. So
I
I
was
want
going
to,
for like Jersey Smoker Mom.
oh,
I
right,
mean, there's a
right.
couple uncles that may be considered that.
Oh, right. And when he was talking about like getting in trouble for selling stuff out of the back of the van, I thought of we know our uncle who sold furniture and it was shady. But
Who
we don't
ended up on Crime Watch? Like when that happens.
right, right. But we're here to talk about spooky stuff. So like how did you get
Not
into
Crime
like,
Watch.
spooky horror? Well,
I I got into horror because of my oldest brother, Nevin.
oh yeah, Nevin. Okay.
So he's 12 years older than me, and then he had to watch me all the time because God forbid we had a babysitter that wasn't related to us.
Right.
And he was a big horror fan. He's a big 80s gore fan.
Oh,
And so I
okay.
started watching 80s gore movies at like 5. And
Oh,
it never left my being. And now I'm so desensitized to things. It's just so bad.
Same mood. I started from a young age too, so I'm right there with you. Now, my next question. So, like, horror movies, is that what inspired your art? Because I've seen a few of your paintings and things too. So is that like a big inspiration?
Mostly the inspiration comes from horror movies. I do a lot of horror portraits. I do a lot of black and white portraits too. So my paintings and my portraits are usually off of horror characters.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very cool, very cool. Now, does that bleed into your photography at all, or is it just like I know they call it urban exploring? Is that what you would consider what you do for your photography?
Urban exploring, sure. I just, I call it let's find some dead people. And
Oh yeah.
that's how I pitch it.
Yes.
I take my friends to do this too. I'm like, hey, I'm going on an adventure today. I don't really tell them what it is. And we end up at a cemetery or someplace that we're trespassing. It's very fun. It's fun for me.
Hmm.
I love decaying America, like the rugged ruins of America, especially in Georgia. We have some of
Hmm.
the best cemeteries down here. And
Oh,
I feel like people don't venture. I tell people all the time when they come here, I'm like, you got to go to the cemetery. And they're like, that's not a fun day trip. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. The architecture is great.
Yeah, and you're down in Savannah, which has Bonaventure Cemetery,
Yes.
which is I learned about it from The Garden of Good and Evil, that 90s movie and book.
Yes. Yeah. Ugh, that the girl on the front cover of the book, like she got so popular that people were coming down here and like stealing pieces off of her. So she's no longer
Jesus.
in the cemetery. They had to take her away.
That's a grave.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a
oh,
couple of them we have Gracie down here she was a little girl who was left here. She died. You know about
Yes.
Gracie?
Yes, I've heard about Gracie.
Yes, she died down here. She was like the Savannah socialite. She was fantastic. She would run about the town and she died and her parents left her down here dead and went to Connecticut. And so she's just buried by herself. But they put a fence around her. Willing to bet if they took that away, somebody would steal that little girl.
Yeah, because
oh
they have the
no.
statue of her at her
Yes.
grave, don't they? Yeah, it's one of the creepy
Life-size
ones.
statue.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Now, I have to ask, and I have to get a little birdie told me that you've met Jamie Lee Curtis.
I
Be
have met Jamie
still
Lee
my
Curtis.
heart.
She nicest person. The first
Mhm.
interaction I had with her, she called the office and you answer the phone and it's like, hey, this is production office. How can I help you? And she was like, oh, I need to talk to travel. I had no idea who the heck it was. I don't know who's on
Mhm.
the other end of this phone. And I was like, oh, who is this? And she like paused, like, why would I even ask that question? And she's like, oh my God, it's Jamie. And I was like, oh, okay. Sorry I asked.
Oh my gosh. I would be gooped because I love Jamie. Like Halloween is my all-time favorite like horror series.
She was such a badass for that one. She was so bruised because she was trying to do all her own stunts.
Oh
Hmm.
my God.
I met her in person and probably doesn't even freaking remember this, but like I had to deliver a script to her assistant and I walked in and she was doing a fitting and I was talking to the assistant because it's a Saturday, like why the hell are we working? And she pops out of the dressing room half naked, just no cares in the world.
Hmm.
Mind you, the office they were in was like you couldn't not walk through somebody else's space. So she was in a costumes area where like anybody from art could have walked through to the
Hmm.
construction area. Didn't give a care in the world. Just, oh, hi. Yeah, ma'am, you're standing here in your bra and underwear. Okay. It's
Right.
not how I expected our meeting to go, but this is how it went.
Oh my gosh. Meeting a horror icon in their underwear.
Just
Crazy.
Living legend.
Do you have like any other like wild stories like that of like that set or any other sets that you've worked on?
that set was a crazy amount of like random people showing up. I'm going to be honest.
Hmm.
Um, the executives are great. Ryan Turek was awesome. He works for Blumhouse. He's an executive producer for Blumhouse.
Hmm.
He was awesome to work with. He bought out a freaking theater so we could all go watch Scream together. Like, yeah.
That's cool. Oh my gosh. Now, what was Fear the Walking Dead like?
Fear the Walking Dead was the longest show I've ever been on. So like standard shows, independent shows usually run for like 4 months. And
Mhm.
then the bigger the show, usually the longer it runs. Movies usually go about 30 days. Anything over 30 days of actual filming is considered kind of long.
Okay, okay.
So Fear, I ended up doing for a year.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
my
Yeah.
You were there
God.
for a
So my
long
shortest show so far has been 4 months, and then Fear has been my longest show. I usually average out about 8 months in a
time.
show. So that was just crazy. And I don't know if you know anything about AMC, but they have a whole back lot just filled with Walking Dead gear. And so we unloaded everything they brought from Texas because they did 4 years before they got to Savannah in Texas. Unloaded that, and then AMC is like, "Oh, we're going to ship you a bunch of stuff." So it was so much. There's so much. I don't want to call it crap because I know like the fan base is hardcore, and they're like, "That's not crap," and it's like, yeah, but it is.
When you're working on it, it's crap.
No, it's when you're trying to like unbox it and mark it off a list and make sure that it's usable. I know the costumes department, they came to me, they came like shuffling up to me. They're like, "Hey, we have a problem." And I'm like, "Oh, what's up?" They're like, "We opened this box of Walker stuff." And they were like, "It's caked in blood and dirt, and it may be housing a few dozen rats."
Oh,
And
no.
I was like,
Oh,
"No." Not in this building, not right now.
Oh, no. Jeez, that's so cool that you got to work. Did you get like close with any of the actors while you were working on Fear the Walking Dead being there that long, or?
You don't really see them unless you're on, like, I work in the production office. So like
Hmm.
I get the execs, I get the directors, I get all the producers and the UPM. The only time I really see actors is if they're coming through for a reason.
Mhm.
Usually to get a script or to go to costumes to get fitted. Ruben, who's one of the actors, he was ungodly nice.
Oh.
He was he's an older man, but
Mhm.
he always came in and he'd always shake my hand because he always forgot my name. And he's like, "Hey, I'm Ruben," and I'm like, "I'm Grimm," like every time. I'm
Oh
like, "I've
God.
met you 7 times, but it's okay at this point."
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. You've been so basically you were working with the real people in charge, the executives and everything, the people running the ship.
Yes, yes, and they're all lovely people, but you get to a certain level within film and you forget how to people. Like you forget how to be a normal person.
yes.
I
Yeah,
can imagine.
it's insane. The director, who's also the executive producer, I love him to death. His name's Mikey. He's a little California surfer dude. He was like, "I got everybody like welcome on board presents," and I was like, "Oh, that's super cool of you, dude." It was not.
Oh no.
he he went and bought 200 pounds of shrimp off of a shrimp boat down here and
Oh,
had it frozen in our freezer, and it was gnarly.
that's a lot of shrimp. That's
Yeah,
insane.
it's an insane amount of shrimp, and he packaged them so perfectly in little Ziploc bags, which in theory is cool until one of them springs a leak.
Oh,
And
and
now
then
there's frozen fish guts on the bottom of a freezer meant for cast cooling jackets.
oh no. So you had Cass walking around smelling like fish.
There was a week that I had like after the fish debacle and before the cast started wearing the jackets that I had to figure out how to make this freaking freezer not smell like fish.
Oh no. That you were doing God's work that week.
I was doing God's work. I got the construction boys in on it. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. We're carting around this deep freezer, trying to like dump it out. It's god awful. And then I'm short. So you ever bend over like a deep freezer and try to clean it? I'm like half hanging
Oh,
in a deep freezer. I like get done with things. I like walk up to people. I'm like, you need to sniff my hair. I smell like fish. I'm going home.
Oh no. Oh geez.
oh.
No, that's so wild. I bet you have so many stories from the cast and from working there and everything. That's crazy. But this is Crips and Corks, so I am curious. What are you sipping on over there?
I have Crown, blackberry, and lemonade.
Okay, is that your go-to
Very
beverage?
nice.
Actually, Crown Apple and Cranberry is my go-to, but they just released the blackberry. I'm an old man, guys. Like at heart, I drink what old men drink. I've realized this.
Oh,
Getting the
God.
looks at the bars, they're like, "Why are you doing
And that's okay. Everyone has their taste. See, we're basic over here. I'm drinking a White Claw. I have, well, the White Claw Surge because I need that extra alcohol to get me there, you know? We can't just do the regular White Claw no more. We've upgraded to the Surge. Now, DJ, what are you sipping on over there?
I've got the iconic Swifty. It is a vodka and Diet Coke.
that?"
And although I fucked it up while I was making it because I thought I poured a lot of vodka in it, so I was like, I'm gonna pour a ton of Diet Coke in here to so I don't get drunk off my ass. And now I just have a glass of Diet Coke
Oh gosh.
Oh,
Well, at least you're getting some caffeine.
until I get to the bottom, and then you're probably gonna watch me go, whoa.
Oh geez. Now I'm gonna have to give that try beverage a try. You said it's blackberry?
Crown, blackberry, and lemonade.
I'm gonna have to give that a good old try. I've never tried that before. I'm gonna have to get up in that gig.
No, do it. It doesn't taste like alcohol. You're going to be fucked up by the
Yes.
end of it.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. Just like I'm ready for today's topic, DJ.
All right, guys. Let me tell you a story. Lights, camera, action. The effects start, the lights turn on, and everything goes according to plan to make a perfect haunted horror film. But what happens when the director yells cut and the spooky things keep happening? Today, we're going to discuss haunted movies.
Yes. Oh my
Love this.
gosh.
I figured this would be right up alley for our special guest today. So I have three movies and the haunted happenings on their sets.
Now, real
We're-
quick before we start, I just wonder, was any of the sets you worked on, did anything paranormal, anything spooky happen on any of the sets you worked on?
No, nothing paranormal happened. We were worried. So I did the Savannah unit of The Exorcist, and knowing all the stories from the original Exorcist, there was
Oh.
very much so mumblings of like something bad's going to happen here. We thought it was just going to transfer over.
Hmm.
Luckily, it didn't, or at least not in my unit. It didn't. I know the main unit that ended up shooting had some issues.
Right.
So,
Oh
but
gosh.
yeah, no, the only mysterious thing that happened is that Ellen Burstyn lost her hearing aid for like 2 hours.
Oh no. Jeez. No, I feel you. That's good. I did hear, like, I know what you're talking about with the Exorcist thing, though, because I do remember people like talking about how haunted the set of The Exorcist, the first one,
Yeah,
was.
but we're not going to talk about that right now.
Oh,
Because
not
he's
yet.
going to talk about that.
We're not going to talk about that
Transition into
story right
story.
now. The first movie we're going to be talking about is one of everyone's favorites. It is a new classic, The Conjuring.
Ooh, okay. One of my faves.
It's like my
So
top five.
it's one of everyone's top five. So for those of our listeners who don't know, The Conjuring is a 2013 film about the Perron family hauntings in their 18th century Harrisville, Rhode Island farmhouse. The family has described it as a supernatural portal disguised as a farmhouse. And it's really the movie that started the whole Conjuring universe about the cases of infamous demonologist Ed and Lorraine Warren, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga in this film. It turns out that the set of this film, and they didn't even film in Rhode Island, they filmed in North Carolina, just because that's where a house that they thought was great was. But the set seemed to be as haunted as the house itself was. In fact, they were really big about researching, and so they actually had members of the Perrin family come to tour the set and like sort of consult on it. And every time a member of the Perrin family would visit, a strange and sudden wind would blow them, but nothing else. Like they'd be outside and they'd be like, "Oh my God, it's so windy," and there'd be trees to the side of them that weren't getting blown at all.
That's
Meanwhile, there's like cameras and boom mics and lights all getting pushed over by this wind.
that's
And
crazy.
one of their first tours, I think it was all five of the daughters visited, and their mother chose not to join them. She stayed back at the hotel. And they're walking around and they suddenly started like getting super paranoid and they're like, we gotta go back. And they get back and they found that their mother had fallen and broken her hip and required major surgery.
Now, the fall, was that by a ghost or something, or did she just fall?
She just felt she's like in her 90s.
Oh, okay. So
The
it was just
woman's barely standing as it is. Can't be left
Like,
alone.
like Andrea Perrin, she wrote three books about the family's experiences in the Conjuring house. She does a lot of interviews, and she still lives with Carolyn, the mom, or the mother lives with her rather. And her mother, she's still alive and kicking, but she's up there in years.
crazy.
Um, Joey King was one of the child actors on the film. She played one of the daughters. She woke up one morning to find herself covered in bruises from head to toe despite not doing any stunts.
Okay, that's crazy. That was my daughter. She'd be out. We'd be done.
So her parents took her to the doctor and she was diagnosed with a mysterious blood condition that she never had previously and which suddenly went away after filming stopped.
That's insane. Would you stop working on a set if you got a mysterious blood disease and bruises?
No.
We
No.
gotta do
There-
it for the job.
No, you gotta keep going at that point.
Show must go on. Show must go on.
Yeah, I mean, with her paycheck, probably. Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah.
Right.
Keep going.
I mean, I don't know in 2013 what her paycheck was like, but now Joey King, she's in everything.
Hmm.
I feel like that was like one of her kickoffs. Like she just
I think
from
so.
there just kept rolling.
Yeah, because I think from this she probably went into the movie about Gypsy Rose Lee.
Oh,
Yes. That was also filmed here.
they're filming everything down there. I didn't
Well,
realize they
what
filmed so much down there.
didn't the whole case I know it happened in the South, but I don't know where. I knew they were originally from Louisiana.
I'm not sure where that actually happened. I know it was all filmed here and it was like
Okay.
they bought out a plot and just built the whole set there.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Back to The Conjuring.
I'm sorry.
No problem. I was the one who also got off on it. Vera Farmiga, who played, what's her name?
Lorraine.
Warren. Thank
Come
you.
on, DJ. Get
I
with
wanted
it.
to say Edith for some reason, and I'm like, why am I saying Edith? She had several different experiences working on this film alone, and she continues to play Lorraine Warren. The first was that she would wake up every night of shooting between 3 and 4 a.m., which is exactly what happened to the parent family.
Yeah, that's the witching hour.
She was so spooked by this that she confided in Patrick Wilson, who played her husband, Ed, in the movie. And he said he'd been experiencing the same exact thing. Could you imagine, like, just being like, I'm really spooked. I've been waking up around 3 a.m. every morning, and I think the movie's getting to me. And then him go, no, same. Goodbye. I'm out. Goodbye.
That's crazy. Like in the witching hour too. Like, okay, I get maybe like it's just so spooky that it's 3 a.m. because like that being the witching hour, like, okay, maybe like 10 or 11, whatever. But the witching hour, that would have been too much for me.
Does it say anything about like the house they filmed at? Like, are they on top of some dead bodies? Is this where exactly is this house?
I mean, it's in North Carolina, which is some pretty. I mean, I'm of the opinion that anything like anything in the original 13 colonies is haunted.
No,
What?
100%.
Right. A lot of stuff went down there.
Like, it's just too old for American standards. It's just too old. It's like when I went to Rome and we stayed in a hotel that was built in the 1600s and they had the original stairs. And all I can say is, do you know how awful it is to be climbing up 1700 stairs while you're drunk off limoncello?
Oh my gosh. That's a whole new marathon, girl.
Wait, did I tell this story in the Paul? Did I tell the story of when I was like, I was so drunk, I was like crawling up the stairs, hands and feet, in the 1700s building,
I
right
mean,
by
that's
the
just a Tuesday
Coliseum.
night for you.
I feel like he like Wolf of Wall Street, the 1700. Have you ever seen the Wolf of Wall Street when he's like,
Yes,
that was you?
rolling.
Exactly.
I'm like crawling, but like I'm drunk, so it's also like kind of like not normal crawling. And then this poor German tourist lady opens her door because I guess she heard me muttering to myself. And I looked over my shoulder and I went, "Don't look at me!" And I started to crawl faster.
Gee.
And I'm sure there is some paranormal podcast in Germany where this poor German tourist lady is talking about the demonic thing she crawling on some steps
Oh my
in her
God.
Roman hotel.
This
You're your
demonic.
own ghost story. I love that for you. You left a legacy there. It's what you did.
I
Exactly.
hope so. Um, so Vera, she's waking up at 3 and 4 a.m., but that's like the fact that she made it to shooting because when she signed on to play Lorraine, she started doing research into Ed and Lorraine's life and she did interviews with them. And one day she left an interview with Lorraine and she opened up her laptop where she was doing research on them. And there was a 3-clawed scratch mark on her computer screen.
Yo, that'd be wild. I'd be out. I wonder if they reimbursed her for that, because I would ask.
Oh, that's an L&D right there. I could feel it. She
What's an-
contacted production and was like, I need a new laptop.
What's L&D?
Lost and damage.
Okay, I got you.
And on the last day of filming, she left the set and she found the same claw mark on her thigh and she has a picture of it.
Oh my gosh. That's
And she's still playing Lorraine Warren.
That's commitment.
Right. You gotta commit to the bit, to the art. I'm here for that, honestly.
I would love to know what the conversations between her and Lorraine were like. Because Lorraine cameoed in the first movie.
Hmm.
But like, I would love to know what the little whisper, because I have my whole thing about the Warrens. I have a hate relationship with them.
Okay.
Hate relationship, not a love-hate relationship.
Yeah. I dove a little too hard into them and like realized how bad they were as like humans.
I've heard mumblings of that for sure. I haven't researched that much, but I've heard mumblings of that for sure.
All right. Next podcast. No.
I mean, no, definitely. And this story is one of them because I think the film makes it out like the parents reached out for help. And
Yeah.
in reality, the Warrens just showed up and said, "We've heard about what's going on in your house. We want to investigate." And the reason why it's called The Conjuring is they conjured during a seance portal, and the mother, Carolyn, started to get possessed and ended up getting thrown from the sitting room into the living room against the fireplace. And the father just threw them out. Like, he nearly killed Ed Warren. Like, he nearly killed Ed Warren that night because he thought that his wife got killed by something they did.
Can you imagine like showing up and it's like, I'm here to help you, but I'm going to wreck your life,
Well,
actually.
then
Make it worse. Oh
the
my
next
God.
day, Ed and Lorraine showed back up there, and the dad was like, "Get the fuck off my property!" And they were like, "No, we're not coming in. Some crazy shit happened last night, and we wanted to see like how's Carolyn." They were like, "Is she dead?"
God.
They were like, "That was pretty crazy. Like, is she okay? Like, we didn't see anything in the news. We wanted to make sure she was still like alive." Shanley Caswell and Haley McFarland played Andrea and Nancy Perrin, two of the daughters. They also had sleeping disturbances. Caswell actually reported at one point she thought she was getting possessed and felt watched whenever she was woken up between that 3 and 4 a.m. And it actually led to many of the actors bunking up because they were too afraid to sleep alone.
Now, I'm going to play the devil's advocate real quick because y'all know I'm a believer, right? I believe in paranormal stuff. I believe in everything. But do you think part of it could be power of suggestion too? I mean, you're surrounded by all this spooky stuff, hearing all the spooky stories. I mean, you're literally refilming one of the scariest hauntings in America. Do you think part of like that, the power of suggestion and paranoia could have played a part in any of this?
I'm going to say, okay, the consistent waking up at 3 a.m., I think it's a little hard because it's very hard to get on that schedule to like
Yeah.
organically wake up like that. Now if you're going to bed and being like, I need to be asleep in the next 3 hours before 3 a.m., and you're thinking like it's 3 hours to 3 a.m., maybe, but like if you're just going to sleep and it's not like that's not organic, that's you're programming yourself. But I do think that the whole feeling watched, I think that might be power of suggestion.
I would also like to play devil's advocate
Okay, yeah.
the 3 a.m. thing because knowing actor schedules and knowing how weird that movie was because there's a lot done in daylight, but there was a lot done in darkness.
Hmm.
Them flipping their sleeping schedules. Like there's times when I work and I'm like up at 4 a.m. and I'm like, why the f am I up?
Right, right.
And it's like, oh, that's because I just worked 3 nights consistently and now I'm back on day shift. So I
Yeah.
could only imagine them as children. I can only imagine like how messed up their internal bodies were. So I would say that probably played into it on top of everybody. You're constantly talking about this stuff. You're on set and you're like, did you hear that bump?
Exactly,
But it's the
exactly.
sound guy who like ran into a corner. Like you're like,
Very
Right.
much that. And then the last story that I have for The Conjuring is writer Carrie Hayes' wife stayed with him during shooting, and they stayed in a rental house, and she said that she kept finding unexplainable puddles of water around the house.
That's just me pissing everywhere.
Case solved.
That was me, sorry. Oh, we curse on this podcast, by the way. Cursing is welcome.
right.
So that's The Conjuring, and I during my research I saw that other films in the Conjuring universe, namely Annabelle and the Nun, also had some haunted happenings, but I figured just do it with the classic, the original.
I could totally see Annabelle being the doll's creepy to begin with. Like I couldn't.
It was made we already on the podcast we already covered Annabelle, and they purposely made the doll creepy.
Yeah,
That's because you look at a Raggedy Ann doll, and that's not exactly unsettling. Like,
No, but that's
exactly.
what makes the Annabelle story freaky to me is that Raggedy Ann should not be scary, but whatever's living in Annabelle is.
have you
Right,
seen the
right.
videos of them like moving her now that both of like the Warrens have died?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
We have one on our Instagram, right? Tony, their son-in-law. Like, Annabelle did not escape. She's right here.
No, that goes back to those 2020 memes where they thought Annabelle escaped.
I found the vodka.
Oh,
Yes.
Which it's a perfect time to lead to our second film, Poltergeist. Speaking of houses built on dead bodies.
Ooh.
Yep, that's the summary. It's this family living in this very cookie cutter home in a very cookie cutter suburban neighborhood, and their house becomes the center of poltergeist activity, which leads them to discover that the house is buried on top of a cemetery.
Mhm.
The original trilogy, the first three movies, had so many frightening occurrences on its sets that they're now considered to have been cursed. Zelda Rubinstein, who played the psychic medium Tangina. It's been so long since I've watched this. Tangina Barons had a premonition of her dog visiting her in her dream. She woke up the next morning to a call from her dog sitter to inform her that her dog had died during the night, and she summed up, he just wanted to come and say goodbye.
That makes me sad.
Jo Beth Williams played Diane Freeling, the mom of the family. And like most of the big name actors, she had a rented house for production. And one night, her bed started to shake with her on it. And she told the owners of the house, and they said, "Oh, yeah, there's a ghost in the house."
Now, was this by the set or?
It was somewhere by the set.
Okay, okay. So not only are you filming a haunted movie, they're making you stay in haunted houses. Okay, cool.
I'm saying this too late, but when I say haunted movie sets. I'm talking about production as a whole, not the physical set itself.
Okay.
She would also return from shooting to find all the pictures on her walls tilted, and she would correct them, and the next morning would go to set and return to find them tilted this like again.
At that point, I just leave it. Like, this is the way the ghost wants it. I'm wrong. You're right.
She got super freaked out because she's like, this is how the shit in the movie started. Like, she's like, this is how it starts in the movie.
Oh my gosh. I think I'm with you, Grimm, though. I think I'd leave it too, honestly. Like, if the ghost wants to redecorate, whatever. As long as it's not too crazy, you do you, girl. We're gonna
That's
get
on
you on.
them. I'm in their area. I'm not staying here.
Right, right. They're on their HGTV shit.
James Caan was hired to write a tie-in novel for the film. One night he was working in Steven Spielberg's office, and Steven Spielberg did not direct the film. He kind of co-directed the film because he was simultaneously working on E.T. And he was in his office working on a scene which took place in a thunder and lightning storm. Suddenly, thunder struck right outside, and the lights flickered, and the back of the AC unit shot off and hit him in the back of the head. A few minutes later, another clap of thunder flicked the lights again, and all the video games Spielberg had in the office began to play simultaneously.
That's crazy.
Because it was like a power surge and they all got turned on by it.
Okay, okay. Maybe that's not too spooky. Maybe that
I
was
don't
just
think
power
I don't
surge.
think it's paranormal, but it's just spooky.
It's a
Mhm.
strange coincidence that this is happening while you're trying to.
Yes. Dominique Dunn played Dana Freeling, who is the oldest of the Freeling children. She once witnessed books fly off of a bookshelf before the shelf itself tilted over
Hmm.
on set, but that was nothing compared to what ended up happening. She was in a relationship with a man named John Sweeney, who is a restaurant chef who is known to have anger issues. After the success of the film, Dunn was often noticed out in public, much to Sweeney's anger. Once a fan stopped them to compliment Dunn, and Sweeney is said to have attacked the fan. Dunn promptly dumped him, as she should.
Right.
Sweeney attempted reconciliation by going to Dunn's house and presenting her with a chocolate mask carved in her likeness.
Absolutely
What?
not.
What does that, what even is,
So he made a chocolate mask that looked like her.
that's creepy. That's crazy.
That's such serial killer vibes.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I'm going to take your face and replace it with this chocolate one I made.
Well, Dunn thought so too, and she declined, which led them to have an argument in front of her house. Actor David Packer was inside because him and Dunn were practicing lines, and he heard the argument. He was afraid of being pulled into it, so he turned the Poltergeist soundtrack on the stereo full blast to try and drown out the noise. He then heard Dunn scream, called a friend to say if he died, it was Sweeney who killed him, and then called the police, who berated him for not calling them first and then going to Dunn's aid. The police showed up to find Sweeney waiting on the curb, hands up in surrender, and he took them around the side of the house where they found Dunn lying unconscious after he had strangled her.
What?
Dunn never regained consciousness and died in the hospital a few days later.
That's crazy.
She was 22 years old.
I
Oh,
would like to point out if actors weren't so dramatic, this woman would probably be alive.
Her boyfriend was a chef. It
that's-
wasn't even her being dramatic. Like, I too, if somebody said, like, here's your face, but in chocolate.
Yeah, but he called his friend and then he called the cops and then he was like blaring music. What are you doing?
right.
Why aren't you out there? Why
Okay,
aren't
now
you-
David Packer, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. He should have, yeah, instead of blaring that music, he should have helped.
I don't think it was even him being dramatic. It was him being a coward.
Period. That part.
Yeah, yeah.
Very that.
I'm just imagining him like sitting on a couch with this music blaring, being like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna let them handle their stuff."
Yeah, that's probably exactly what happened. And the fact that he put on the Poltergeist soundtrack makes it so much worse.
That's the real dramatic part here. Like, you could have said, why weren't you nosy? Why weren't you sitting there listening?
Right.
Why? Or if you don't want to involve, why can't you like? This is the '80s. Put on like Cher.
Right.
If
Isn't
I could turn back time,
oh my
I would find a way. We have
Also,
a
yeah, this is the 80s. We have a bunch of serial killers running around, all like loosey goosey.
right. What are we doing?
Where's the logic?
Isn't there like this Family Guy skit where it's a Family Guy cutaway and it says it's the skit and it goes, Horton hears domestic abuse and doesn't do anything.
Oh my god.
That's exactly what happened here.
Exactly, exactly. I know Family Guy's like, I guess problematic or whatever. It's one of my guilty pleasures. I'm not gonna lie about it, but what can you do?
Well, they decided to make a second movie, and it was no less haunted than the first. They had a creature effect called the Vomit Monster, and it was supposed to, yeah,
Vomit.
it malfunctioned, which led Craig T. Nelson, who played Steve Freeling, the father of the family, to have to pretend to throw up a disgusting prop vomit for 10 hours straight.
Oh my God.
The director was finally happy with the final result and sent everyone home. The next day, they found out that the film was mysteriously ruined and would have to be reshot.
Oh my God. I would be so sick in that moment in time.
Get my manager on the phone. We're not doing this anymore.
All movies canceled. We're done.
We have tubes for that now. They now wire tubes through you to do that. You don't have to puke your
Yeah,
own
but
vomit
back
anymore.
then, he just had to eat the prop vomit, wait till they said action, and then throw up.
You know that was like a weird mixture of like toothpaste and like oatmeal and
Yes.
some
It's
kind of coloring.
I am
right.
I'm a theater kid. I studied theater in college, and I'm so grateful that I was never in a production where I actually had to eat something because my professors always said it's like you hear, oh, you get to eat in the scene, and you think, how wonderful. Like I get to eat while I work. But then you spend 10 hours eating cold mashed potatoes.
Disgusting.
Or like that food that looks so fantastic in the movies, and I'm sure you can tell us this too. It looks so fantastic, but it's cold because it's been sitting around.
I'm going to be honest. If somebody was like, "Yeah, I've been eating for 10 hours today on set," I would have been like, "Yep, we didn't make our day. I don't know what that director's doing. I'm sorry you had to eat cold mashed potatoes. I hope catering and crafty treated you well in between those takes."
That's true. Because if you're spending that much time on one like food scene, like what are you doing?
We You're wasting my time. Is what you're doing.
The finale of the second film was supposed to take place in a cave. It was not a real cave, it was built, which was not only claustrophobic but extremely impractical to work in. They would like try to set the lights up, and the lights would fall over because they were, well, if I kind of tilted up against the wall here, and then it would fall. Yes.
That's a hazard.
But also felt oppressive and creepy. Going back to the hazard thing on the first film, the scene in the pool, JoBeth Williams was like, because they had all these fans and lights around it, and she was terrified that a fan would push a light into the pool, she'd get electrocuted. And Steven Spielberg was on set and was like, they're grounded. That's not going to happen. You're going to be fine. I'll even get in the pool with you. And he put on these like nipple high waders and got into the muddy water. And like for the first couple takes, like just stood in the pool out of shot so that she did not feel bad about getting electrocuted.
That's crazy.
That's not paranormal. That's just, I mean, there have been times I just did theater, I didn't do movies. There were times where I was afraid I was going to get electrocuted by something on set.
I like so hope that like it was sandbagged and everything was great and it was and somebody got
sure
out
it
their
was.
ruler and was like, this is a safe distance away, but this is the 80s and I don't bad things happen in the 80s.
I'm sure they were
Yeah.
grounded and sandbagged. I'm sure nobody did the roller thing, but I'm sure those things were not moving. Well, obviously they did not move. But not only was this cave set claustrophobic and impractical to work in, but it was oppressive and creepy.
Ooh.
Nelson was so creeped out that he asked fellow actor William Sampson, who played Taylor, and who was an experienced Native American shaman, to look into it. And so Sampson began to research, and he discovered, to the actor and most of the crew's shock and horror, that the skeletons used as props and set dressing were real.
They were using real skeletons? Like dead bodies?
Also, in the first film, in that pole scene, when all the skeletons just start bubbling up, those were real too. And Jo Beth Williams didn't realize until years later, when she ran into somebody who had worked on the set and said, "Oh my God, like I still think about how realistic those skeletons look. They are real, Jo Beth."
Where did they get them?
They were donated, weren't they? They were like cadavers. They were like donated to
Nobody
science.
knows.
Wait, like where did you hear they were cadavers?
I read that online. I heard that they were like they were skeletons donated to science
Mm-hmm.
and they used them. But
Okay. Okay.
somebody in a meeting somewhere went, hey, it'll be a lot more cost efficient if we
Yes, because everyone was like, "Why would you do that?" And they said, honestly, in the 80s, it was cheaper to buy a real dead body than to make a fake one.
That's crazy. That doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, because skeletons nowadays are a dime a dozen. You walk into freaking Spirit Halloween, you're good.
Right, right. So then what were they doing in the 80s that they didn't have these skeletons? Like, what was going on, sister?
The 80s was just the beginning of the plastic era. But this led Samson, who, like I said, was a experienced shaman, to perform an exorcism on the set, which stopped the malfunctions and eerie feelings.
That's because we
Despite
have
that
somebody's dead
exorcism,
uncle in the wall, like just hanging on the wall there.
Right, exactly.
This is not where he thought his body was going to end up.
no. Despite the exorcism, that did not stop death from hanging over the filming. Julian Beck played the villain of the film Kane, and he was actually dying of colon cancer while filming. And his performance was described as unsettling for the cast and crew as he came closer and closer to the other side in which his character inhabited. And shortly after filming ended, he died. Will Sampson also soon died of complications of a heart and lung transplant. Nelson reported that he once visited Sampson's grave, and a swarm of cicadas in a nearby tree immediately quieted when he spoke aloud to his deceased friend. And Heather O'Rourke, who plays the youngest of the Freeling children, Carol Ann, of They're Here fame, came down with a serious illness which would plague her for the rest of her life.
Damn. See, these actors don't know what they're really signing up for when they're signing up for these horror movies.
Well, guess what? None of these strange occurrences were enough to consider not doing a third movie. One device, an underwater catapult, malfunctioned and shredded a stuntman's shins to shreds.
Damn.
Another accident led to director Gary Sherman breaking his leg. Another effect turned a controlled explosion into a raging fire on the set, which they could not put out.
It's still going to this day.
Just burning in a backlot somewhere.
No, eventually they did get it put out, but actually there's a story about everyone evacuated the set except for like one lighting engineer. And a stuntman went back in, saved him, and got the camera and with all the film on it. And Gary Sherman said that he was a hero for saving the camera.
Damn. They had their priorities.
You know what? I agree. He's a hero for saving that camera.
That was weeks worth of work on that film.
On film. That was an expensive ass camera.
Exactly. And that was like millions of dollars right there between the equipment itself and the work that was on that film.
That makes sense. Saved that company a lot of money.
Was a team player. Really. He was like, we don't want to be here another 2 weeks. We're going to end on time.
Is that kind of like the general vibe on set that people are just trying to get this shit over with? Like,
absolutely.
It's not as glamorous as they make it seem.
Set is such a hurry up and wait situation that it's like, all right, we're gonna hurry up and wait for lunch. Like, let's go, guys. And then after lunch, everybody's like, all right, we're gonna hurry up and wait to get out because we don't want to be here 12 hours. Although the pay is great, we don't want to be standing here.
That's tea. I don't blame you.
Look, when you're on your 20th day, you've seen these guys do this before.
Right.
You want to go home. You're like, I'm tired of looking at Bill. I want to go look at my wife.
Right. It's like, here comes Jamie again.
Fuck Jamie. Where's my wife?
Not fuck Jamie. We love Jamie Lee Curtis on this podcast. This is a Jamie Lee Curtis stan podcast.
Yes, it is. Actress Zelda Rubinstein, who played Tingia, had another premonition, this time of her mother's death. And director Gary Sherman took a photo of her where she was mysteriously surrounded by a halo and believes he captured the moment of her mother's passing.
That's pretty cool, actually. You got that picture of her with that halo? That's pretty cool.
She was actually a native of Pittsburgh.
That's where we are, Pittsburgh.
We're a Yinzer podcast.
Yeah. Not too much, but we're here, nothing to brag about.
What are you talking about? You got me, I bleed the black and gold. Ghost doors.
God.
Oh no.
I mean, it's better than Cumberland, but
true. I grew up on the other side of the state, so I'm a Philly girl. So
oh, I got
that will do it. That will do it. The film was filmed in Chicago's John Hancock Tower, and they had a building engineer on hand to help them with whatever they needed within the building. During filming, one morning they walked in and they found him suddenly dead in his chair. Like he just suddenly died.
That's crazy.
All right. Sometimes I just want to tap out too.
Right. It's hard to see other people living your dreams.
Yeah.
During a hiatus from filming, Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann, had difficulty swallowing and her parents took her to the hospital, where she shortly died of septic shock at the age of 12 from a misdiagnosed congenital intestine issue.
Oh, that's really sad.
Her mother recounted an occurrence when Heather was in a separate room with the doctors and she suddenly saw Heather before her, and Heather said, "I'm not coming back."
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, that's children
creepy,
but ghost children are just not.
I agree. Children are creepy. I'd rather see a ghost adult than a kid ghost. I'd see a ghost adult before I saw a kid adult.
And all that makes the Poltergeist trilogy one of the most haunted and cursed film sets in history, which leads us into our third and final haunted set, that of The Exorcist.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that Two Girls, One Cup set.
Oh no.
That was haunted. That was rough.
Was that haunted or is that just haunts us?
Right, exactly.
That haunts me.
Every kid our age knows exactly when they first saw that video.
If you're listening to this and you don't know, please don't Google.
Right. Don't
Don't.
look it up, Mom. It's not worth it.
What you should look up instead is our brilliant fellow podcast, Two Girls, One Ghost.
Yes.
So much better.
Shout out to the girls of Two Girls, One Ghost. Amazing podcast.
Corinne, Sabrina, we love you. The Exorcist was released in 1973 and is considered one of the all-time scariest films of all time, and even led to Ouija boards being branded as demonic. It also made director William Friedkin a believer in the supernatural. In 1974, he said, "I'm not a convert to the occult, but after all I've seen on this film, I definitely believe in demonic possession. There are things that cannot be treated by medical or psychiatric means." Just as production was about to begin, a fire completely destroyed the set of the McNeil home and had to be entirely rebuilt, delaying filming 6 weeks.
That's a sign. That's an omen.
Once filming was set to begin, Max von Sydow, who played Father Lannister, one of the exorcists in the film, found out his brother had died and had to suddenly return to Sweden for the funeral. Then Linda Blair, who played the child Reagan, lost her grandfather and had to take time off to attend his funeral.
All right, we're just racking them up now.
Right. Everyone's just dying.
Then a 10-foot tall statue of a demon was lost in Hong Kong while en route to the filming location in Iraq. How do you lose a 10-foot tall statue of a demon?
It happens. It happens. I once lost a machine gun, so it's okay.
Oh, not a whole machine gun.
Like a World War II machine gun on that good stands on a base. Lost one of those. This happens. That does not surprise me.
That's crazy.
But also, people got sticky fingers. I just worked on a set where we lost a whole ass head, like somebody's fake head that was a prop.
As an actor, I will say we do have sticky fingers because the amount of times, because you work with something so much in a production that it's just like, it's part of me now. And you just got to take it home to have it sit in your tchotchke cupboard.
It's completely fine as long as it's not a rental.
Oh.
I never stole a rental prop.
Good.
I never stole a prop. Pieces of costume, like I've stolen like a fake mustache. I've stolen like not a real pocket watch. It was like a pocket watch case, and I was just supposed to check it.
Okay, that's not bad. You didn't steal a 10-foot demon.
No, I did not steal a 10-foot tall statue of Pizzazzo to stick in my homemade satanic temple.
I hope wherever he's at, he's living a good life. Somebody's treating him well in their dungeon.
The fact that it was lost in Hong Kong, I can almost guarantee you it's in some like British expat's home. Like he just like saw it and was like, I need that for my foyer. Doesn't even know what it is. Probably thinks it's a real antique. Ellen Bernstein, who played Chris McNeil, Reagan's mother, reported that 9 people died during production, including an assistant cameraman's baby and a night watchman.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. We can't blame the baby thing on the movie. The night watchman, maybe. Some shit goes down at night. Okay, I get it. You're guarding a movie set. Things are happening. But we're not going to blame the baby.
I'm just quoting Ellen. I am just quoting Ellen. Okay. One of the people who did die, and this is not an Ellen Bernstein claim, this is proven, was Jack McGowan, who played a film director. He was not the film director. He played film director and Chris's friend, Burke Dennis, who was killed by the possessed Reagan, died shortly after filming was finished.
Everyone's dying, girl. What's going on?
In addition to the death, there were a number of injuries. One crew member lost a toe. Any comment on the lost toe?
If that came across my desk, I would fucking laugh first. And I'd be like, How? Are you not wearing shoes? It is set etiquette to wear shoes.
I
Closed toed.
I think it was amputated because something fell on it. I wanted to focus on the spooky stuff and not so much on the semantics of the lost toe. Although another crew member did lose a carpenter cut off his thumb.
All right, that's on point. That I understand.
Shit happened.
Yeah. As in college theater, you have to help build the set. The number of times I nearly lost a thumb. Linda Blair fractured her back during a convulsing scene, leading to lifelong issues with scoliosis. So in one of the scenes where she's flopping around on the bed, they had a harness and she was strapped in the harness, and so she's flipping back and forth, and her cries for help so closely mirrored the script that no one stopped filming to help her. And that's the cut that ended up in the movie.
Wait, okay. So she was flying back and forth when she got scoliosis.
No, she fractured her back and it led to scoliosis.
Oh, okay. Could you imagine having to tell people you got scoliosis from The Exorcist?
Do you know how much money she probably makes off that movie?
Is the
I would like
scoliosis
to know her residuals from that movie.
very that? She got her back blown out by The Exorcist. That was a good one. Y'all have to admit. That was funny. I don't care what no one says. See, that's a lot of this podcast is I make wild jokes and DJ just brushes right on over.
When I make jokes, you're so busy thinking of your own jokes, they just fly over your head.
That's true. And the same thing with a lot of the facts, honestly.
So wait, they had her in a harness and this sounds like a stunt person should have been in that place first.
Probably.
You know what? I love the 70s and 80s. We did not give a shit.
It was a different time.
It was. I bet there wasn't even the safety meeting at the beginning of the day.
Honestly, probably half of them were high. Like, everyone was smoking in the 70s.
I mean, still, but
Hey, nothing wrong with a little puff puff before set. A little mbop.
whatever gets y'all through the day.
Right, exactly. You gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
I don't blame them. Half of them are like up for 15 hours.
Right.
People on the set were so spooked. Friedkin asked Father Birmingham, who was an actual Catholic priest who was consulting on the film, to perform a real-life exorcism on the set. Birmingham declined and instead performed a blessing over the entire cast and crew. Some other just wild shit that happened on this set. Ellen Burstyn. So there's one scene where it's during the convulsing scene where Ellen Burstyn is trying to help Regan, and Regan's supposed to push her, and she was in this harness, and she was supposed to be pulled to make it look like Regan was super strong. And William Friedkin went to the guy who was supposed to pull her and said, "Don't even warn her, just yank her nice and hard." And he yanked her so hard that Ellen Burstyn fractured her tailbone. And in the clip, you can see her landing on her back and the pain on her face. And when I say you can see this clip, it's because they also used that clip in the film.
Oh my gosh. See, none of this is sounding like spooky. This is sounding like just like things that shouldn't be happening. Like
We tried to murder a bunch of people on camera and released it as a movie.
Right.
William Friedkin didn't think that the two actors playing the Catholic priests were serious and scared enough during the exorcism scene. So during one take, he got out a shotgun, fired into the air, and then yelled "action," at which point everyone was so shaken that was real fear.
Gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
And my absolute favorite story, I believe it was Father Birmingham, who was a consultant on the film. And at the end of the movie, he has a cameo
where he plays Father Caritas, who is the young priest who ends up he gets the demon out of Reagan and then he jumps out the window down the steps. And in the scene, he has this cameo where he's giving him the last rites as he's lying at the bottom of the steps. And Friedkin was like, no, 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 you're not rattled enough. And so he was like, I'm not an actor. And William Friedkin slapped him and said, action. And Birmingham said, that was the cut they used for the movie. And in it, I am crying real tears because I was so angry that I was thinking about leaving the priesthood to kick that man's ass.
God, when you have to reconsider your whole job and like
So we really have to, when you're looking at The Exorcist, you have to think, was it haunted by a ghost or was it just haunted by William Friedkin himself?
he was so many HR violations.
Yeah, I was
I
just
had a-
thinking that.
I had that point in here and you just jumped the gun a couple bullet points ahead.
Damn.
And that is haunted movie sets. And now I have one question for both of y'all. Smash or pass? Patrick Wilson as Ed Warren.
Smash.
Right. We're getting it, okay?
And that is 3 smashes.
He could get it for real, for
Patrick
real.
Wilson in anything, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Honestly, he's fine. He can get it, like for real, for real. But isn't there like stories of like the house they filmed The Exorcist in being haunted? Like I think that's a thing, that the house that The Exorcist was filmed in is like haunted and still haunted to this day.
So it is a private residence. They only use the outside of it
Mm-hmm.
for exterior shots, and they actually had to build a fake extension on because it's actually nowhere near the steps. It's just all yard.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to build an extension on to have the finale of the priest flying out the window and rolling down the steps.
Okay, interesting.
So if you go to see it, it looks nothing like the movie because movie magic. But the interior was all built on sound stages so that it could easily be controlled.
Most of the time you have to do that too to make like houses aren't built to have a camera crew in it and usually aren't wide enough to keep dolly tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so most of the time they have to rebuild the houses. They rebuilt the Halloween Ends house down here too. Because you can't fit a movie crew in a regular house.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Oh my gosh. So, like, what is the coolest like set you've been on?
Have you seen Halloween Ends?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So Mike Myers is in a cave, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
a cave. He's in a sewer system.
Yes.
That sewer system is 10 times larger than what you've actually seen in that movie.
Was that a set or was it?
That was a set. Shout out to the construction team. Go Wally. That was a set. It was huge. There was so many like moving parts to it. The movie's so dark. There's a lot of things you miss. Like they had Jesus Christ. Sorry, my cat's throwing a hissy fit. They had the set deck department was insane on that too, but it was huge and you could completely like crawl and walk through actual pipes
Oh.
in there and you never saw it.
That's crazy. That's so cool.
So movies have like code names when they're filming.
Mhm.
The code name for Halloween Ends was Cave Dweller,
Nice.
Oh.
and it was because of that. But I
like
think
that.
you only saw like 30 seconds of it in the movie.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
it was not a whole lot happened in there.
Yeah. But it was an amazing set.
That's so cool. Now I have to ask you, are there any like haunted sets that you know of that we didn't cover?
Um,
Any like rumors even, you know? Like-
I don't know if you guys ever dipped into the Wizard of Oz and just the bullshittery behind the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, did shit happen?
Oh, shit went down on that. Like every time I see a fun fact about that movie, I'm like more and more disturbed.
There are definitely more haunted movie sets out there. I just covered the three most famous in this one.
Hmm.
We'll probably have a haunted movies part two at some point.
Period.
Because
Period.
the Omen was bad too, the original Omen
The
movie.
Omen was bad, but I mean, we're probably just over an hour, and I was like, if I did every single one, we'd be here for like 5 hours and still not hit everything. That's
Right.
just like wild.
It'd be an entire lecture series.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Right. Very that. Very.
Welcome to Hauntings 1010 movie sets.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Now, what happened? Now, I'm curious about this Wizard of Oz thing now. Like, what crazy thing happened on the Wizard of Oz? Was it paranormal or was it just people being crazy?
It was just crazy.
It was people being crazy. There's rumored to be a dead body in one of the scenes too. Like somebody was hung on the set.
They hung themselves. The story
Yeah,
goes that
yeah,
they hung
hung.
themselves. Tin Man had to be recast because the original actor they played was super allergic to the tin paint that they put on his face.
That's
The lion's costume was also actual lion skin, which
And I'm pretty sure multiple people like suffered like second to third degree burns because they were playing with live fire in the 30s.
that's wild. I'm starting to realize how wild these movie sets are, how dangerous they are. All
Not
these
to
people
mention,
dying and shit.
not to mention that that was actually the movie where Judy Garland started her pill addiction as well as her eating disorder.
oh, she was totally being tortured on that set somehow, some way. There was some kind of psychological warfare going on.
I mean, her mother, Louis B. Mayer, because like Louis B. Mayer handpicked her.
Mhm.
And like it, did you see the movie Judy with Renee Zellweger?
I haven't seen that yet.
There's like one part where like child Judy Garland like messes up a line and
Mhm.
like Louis B. Mayer's like, let's go on a walk, and he's like walking her down the yellow brick road. And at first it starts like very lovingly, very fatherly, like he has his arm wrapped around her. He's like giving good advice. And then it starts to shift and he goes, you know, everyone else wanted Shirley Temple to play Dorothy. I'm the one who said I wanted you. Are you really going to disappoint me?
I bet shit like that happens all the time in show business.
I mean, still to this day, I mean, that the girl who played Zoe's roommate in Zoe 101 is just coming out about all of the problems she had with Dan Schneider.
Well, Dan Schneider's just wild in general, but
Did
now,
you see Drake Bell just dropped that he's been sexually assaulted?
oh, I didn't see that. That's wild.
No.
Yeah.
That's
They just dropped like a docu series about it.
I'm gonna have to watch that. That's crazy.
Was it Dan Schneider?
I don't know because it was very like ominous because it had like a bunch of the Amanda Bynes show people, and they were like, yeah, they were like discreetly talking, and it was all a lead up for like Drake Bell to come sit down in a seat and be like, I was sexually assaulted.
That's
We're gonna have to watch
crazy.
this.
Oh, yes. I'm gonna have to look this up. I need this information now. Sorry, Grim, do you have like anything you want to promote? Any interesting projects coming up? Any socials you want the people to go follow and blast so they can follow you on all your cool adventures and all your cool art?
They can definitely follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is punksxsurvive, and you can see all of my creepy, spooky adventures and some behind the scenes of different things.
Okay,
Awesome.
cool, cool. So go ahead and give them a follow. Now, DJ, do you have any final things for us here on today's episode?
Just to say, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe wherever you're listening to us. Also, if you really enjoy what we do, help the cult thrive and tell two people about it. If you have personal stories or story suggestions, please shoot us an email, cripsandcorks@gmail.com. Please follow us on all of our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Crips and Corks, on Instagram @Crips and Corks Pod, on TikTok @Crips and Corks Pod, and on X at Crips and Corks. We do a lot of fun teasers and memes on there, so definitely check those out. Paul, where can they find you?
Well, first, I just want to shout out Grimm. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
You
you
made
for
this
joining
episode
us.
like you've made this episode so special, and just your industry insights and just everything. You added so much to this episode. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here with us and talk about spooky shit with us.
No problem. This was like my favorite thing.
Period.
I
Awesome.
I just loved how I'm like, yeah, somebody cut off a toe, and Paul, you're like, that's wild, and Grimm's like, that's Tuesday.
Right? Then they're done that. But yeah, you can follow me at my personal Instagram at Paul Ember, Paulembr, or my personal TikTok at Paul Ember, Paulember. And as usual, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
And everyone, remember, until next time,
Please call your mother back. Do you want the lasagna or not?
and remember to keep your crips tight.
And your corks loose. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh.
And seriously, let me know about the lasagna.